Hello, and welcome back to the She is Courageous podcast. This week, it's a guest week, and I am delighted to have my friend and fellow business owner here in Dubai, Jess, join me. Now, let's do this officially, Jess. So, Jessica is a certified life and career coach. She specializes in helping people create their own definition of success and making it happen. In a nutshell, she helps her clients snap out of their current reality to start living the life they really want. Her method to design her best life is simple: clarity, mindset, habits, and action. Now, anyone that's listening to that, there can be no doubt at all why Jess and I have connected, because we met here in Dubai probably about 18 months ago. I think I met you in my first few months in the country, and we did connect immediately, didn't we? And we clearly have some like-minded thought processes going on there. So I'm delighted to have you on the show because we've got to know each other well. We socialize, we network together, we support each other in business. We've run a workshop together. We are so like-minded. Jess, welcome to the She is Courageous podcast. It's brilliant to have you here.
Thanks, Shelley. I'm so happy. As you said, before being colleagues, we're friends and we are fellow business owners. So it's really nice. I listen to your podcast. So it would be nice to be on the other side for once. So thank you for the invitation and thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. Now I'm intrigued. Will you listen to our episode?
Of course.
So I never listen to my own
Of course.
podcast.
I do it after a while. So usually when I record episodes with other people, it is a while before they release it. So I have time to get over myself. And that when I listen to it, I usually do it when I'm on the treadmill or when I'm doing something. So it's
Nice.
nice. It's kind of listening to someone else, but I know it's me, but it's not me. So it's weird.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. So we've already gone off on a tangent. I'm going to ask you questions in a second. But it's interesting because I don't listen to my own podcast. I really struggle to listen to my own voice. And I learned really early on in recording the podcast that I couldn't record too much in advance because I would overthink and think, oh, I should have said that. And maybe I should go back and redo it. And I definitely can't listen to myself because I'd want to change it. Anyway, let's move on from shall we listen. Jess will listen. I probably won't. But Jess, welcome to the podcast. I've shared the bio. We've just given a little bit of insight. Yes, we are friends. We are fellow business owners. We're very like-minded. We do similar work, but differently the same. But I would love, because as I've got to know, every time I spend time with you, I find out something else about you. You have a deeply layered story, and I mean that in just the most complimentary way I can. Jess, tell us the story of Jess. Tell us about who Jess is, kind of who she is now, where she's come from, and just take us through how you've got to the place that you find yourself in now.
I like the fact that you say the layers of me. I like it. It sounds like me. Like, um, who am I? I'm first of all, I'm Italian, and my mom made me promise that I would say this in every event, in every podcast, in anything that I would do. Like, I need to wear this badge. Of course, I'm proud of being Italian. So, for the people that are listening to this, you're not seeing my hands moving, but they are. So this is wired in my brain. And how I ended up here. Like those layers, I've started to pile up, and for a certain period of my life, I would say not many years, those layers have kind of lay there just by default. And when I was becoming more adult and I was starting to define what I wanted to be in life, who I wanted to be, and what I wanted to bring to the world, then those layers became more and more conscious. So now when I see it myself, I look at myself in the mirror, I'm really proud of those layers. And even the ones that are not as maybe I meant for them to be, or they're not particularly aligned with who I am today, I'm very proud of looking at them and say, okay, this is how I ended up here. So yeah, exactly. I'm from Milan. I'm very Italian. And I moved to Spain when I was 24. Yes, to study my master degree. And Spain for me was a nice touch to my experience because it was my first international experience. I've always had these drive within me of going outside, exploring the world, doing something that I couldn't do in Italy, and at the same time doing the same thing that I enjoyed doing in Italy. It was bringing myself outside and see what's out there, what can I experience, what can I learn from different cultures. So Spain was my first international relocation, and of course, it was also the starting of my career. So I studied hotel management, and my idea was, okay, let's study this. I'll get my internship, and then I'll move out of Spain, and I'll start traveling the world and move around, which it did not happen. Clearly, but it all it all came very natural. So I ended up staying in Spain for 9 years. My career grew in Spain. I got promoted and promoted and promoted. I became hotel manager when I was 26, so I was very young, and I was facing myself with a professional world where everyone was kind of older than me. So for me, being a woman in such a strong environment where people were really struggling to get to being led by someone who was younger than them. It was the first slap on my face. I remember that I was very excited, and really, hospitality has my heart. And that was the first time when I felt some kind of resistance. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe I need to rephrase or reframe what I'm thinking, because what I'm telling myself that what I'm reading in what they're saying is hurting me. So I really had to work on myself a lot during those years, because of course I was playing being an adult, or at least this is how I see myself back then. I thought, okay, I'm 26, I can run the world. And honestly, I couldn't, there were so many things that I had to learn. And if I look at myself back then, I feel a lot of sympathy and empathy for that young lady that,
Interesting.
explored something that was bigger than her. So Spain had been my home for 9 years. And during that time, I had a profound crisis that came, let's say, due to several things. It was a bit of love life that was crashing and crashing and crashing. I felt that, okay, I'm where I want to be, because I was getting promoted really fast. I got at the goal that I had when I got out of my master. Before 30, I was a general manager, and I'm like, okay, now I can breathe. And I wasn't breathing. I felt so overwhelmed, so empty. I remember when they gave me the news that, like, you've been promoted and you're going to start running the whole place. I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't feel anything. I can't say that I wasn't happy, but I didn't feel what I thought I would feel. And that was the second slap. I mean, there were so many slaps in between, but big ones that, you start to realize things. So that time was a bit hard, and then COVID hit, so everything was frozen for a long while, and I had a lot of time to think. And I'm not ashamed to say that for me, COVID was a very positive time. Of course, for the world, it meant to stop, which could have been seen as something very negative. And for me, that stop came as a wave of change, a breath. I hadn't seen the seaside for years, and I've been living literally next to it. So for me, COVID was, okay, I can leave. There's something out there. So that was a transition phase that was really painful. I felt that for the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do. Nothing was giving me joy. Even the things that were really making me passionate, like hospitality, was like, I don't know if this is for me. So I questioned a lot of things around me, and I started to work with a coach. So we had a long process, and that was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. So when I tried coaching, I felt such a powerful shift in me. And then I could really see it in everything that I was doing, how I was talking to myself, how I was talking to people, the way that I was leading teams. It was completely different from what I used to do. And then that the moment when I said, I want to do this. I want to have the same impact on people that I've had on myself. So in that time, it's right after COVID. I meet my current partner. We meet and he tells me on the first date, I'm relocating to Turkey. So we start this relationship far away. And then after Turkey, Dubai came. So we're growing apart even more, at least physically, until 2022. I decide to take a leap and I come to Dubai. And again, it was a complicated time for me because, of course, I was transitioning in a very 360 way. So I was transitioning with my business, with my career. I was transitioning from I've always lived alone, even if I were in a relationship. So it was, okay, now I need to start to live with someone else, which is not a pet, which is difficult. And so, yeah, it was a lot of transitioning and coming to Dubai. Now it's 3 years next month. So I'm so proud of everything, and I really can't wait for the next chapter. It's like I feel that those layers will keep coming, and I can't wait.
Thank you. I mean, do you know, it's interesting as I was listening to you, and I obviously I know your story. And yet, every time I hear it, I hear something new. And I say that a lot to people, like, you read a book, don't you? You know, it doesn't matter whether fiction or real. You read it again, you're like, oh, I don't remember that from last time, because I think you hear maybe what you're meant to hear in that moment. But I've just sat here listening and thought, God, no wonder we connect on the level we do, because my background was in hospitality. And when you said, and I want to dive into a few of these pieces if that's okay, but you said, first of all, you said you were playing at being an adult. I remember being 26, 25, 26, and I was working in retail at the time. And actually, I wanted someone to give me a promotion. They said I wasn't ready. And I was like, I am. I'm ready. Like, I was convinced I was ready. I now know I wasn't ready back then. And it was just so interesting. Like, when I heard you talking about that at 26 and then getting that, I mean, to be appointed as a hotel general manager of a hotel at 30 years of age, that is no mean feat. That shows how good you were, how hard you worked, that, just how much you put into climbing that ladder. And then for you to go, I wasn't unhappy, but I didn't have the feeling I thought I was going to have. And it's so interesting because I think my journey is very similar. I mean, I haven't lived in the places you've lived, and I don't speak the languages you speak, etc., etc. But kind of 15 years later, I just think we've got some really interesting similar trigger points. Is the point? So, yeah, just as I was listening. So let's dive into a few of those pieces before we come zooming up to current day and talk about the work you do now, because there are some real key points in there. Now, first of all, you grew up in Italy, in Milan. You left Italy. I think you said at 24 you went to Spain. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it was 2015. So yeah, I'm not good at math. I'm
Okay.
a language lady.
You're not being judged on your math.
2015, I left Italy. Yes, it's 10 years. By the way, I'm celebrating my expat-versary. It's 10 years that I've left my country.
The expat bursary. Now, look, life as an expat, let's talk about that a little bit, because, I know life as an expat from my experience. We know lots of people that are going, that we talk about it a lot, okay, living in Dubai, because there's so many of us. But you actually started expat life and have taken that step several times. So just take us back to, how did it feel moving to a new country? Because you were Italian, you moved to Spain. So again, another language in the mix here. Yes, you went to uni over there, you did your master's there. Like, just talk a little bit about the courage, because I'm sitting here thinking about, this is She's Courageous podcast. That's incredibly courageous to move all the way to Spain on your own at 23, 24 years of age.
So basically, I always say this when I think about why did I leave Italy? And and I am in contact with a lot of experts, and there's always this discussion that people that leave their country is mostly because they're running away from something. They're not happy where
Yeah.
they are, they want something more.
Yeah.
In my case, as I said, I'm really deeply in love with my country, and didn't run away from anything. In fact, I love going back to my country.
Mm.
I'm what I think is my case, and I'm always running towards something else. I'm always running towards the next chapter of my life, towards my future, towards my next version. So I think the feeling inside was very, for me, was a lot of excitement, a lot of trepidation, a lot of, I thrive on change. Change for me is something that really keeps me alive, that makes me happy. Like, I think that one of my biggest fear, it's boredom, in the sense of stagnation, to be in a place, or to be in something and to feel no stimuli when it comes to growth, development, curiosity, etc. So for me, this transition, I've never seen it as something courageous, because it was something that was deep inside me. So I've never realized until, of course, I spoke to many, many, many people that, okay, not everyone has this drive inside them to go and
Mm.
move and relocate. So, of course, it was, I think it was not as traumatic for me as it was for my family. Um, I think that sometimes also, as an expert, you need to deal a lot with the emotions of people around you. And that's probably for me, it's the hardest, because I know how I feel things. I know how I feel what's, what's inside of me, but I can't help the other person to process their own emotions on the same level. So that's for me the only, not negative, but less comfortable side of being an expert. And of course, the cultural gap between Italy and Spain was not that big, or at least I didn't feel it that much at that time, because at the end of the day, we have similar way of living. But of course, finding myself alone in a country where I didn't know the language. I come from a language major, so before moving there, I already spoke fluently 4 languages. And then I went there and I'm like, okay, this is no language. It's not my vocabulary, I need to, it was done on purpose. I wanted to learn Spanish. But I relocated to a village that was 5,000 people, and they weren't even speaking like,
Oh, wow, I don't think I knew this part.
yes, it was done on purpose. I wanted to learn Spanish. It's one of those languages that I've always wanted to learn, but never studied. And so Spain was on the map also because of that. But they were all speaking Catalan. It was 5,000 people, and I'm like, oh gosh, did I make the right choice? So there were now and then some sparks of doubt, but I think that the thrill that I felt inside, the excitement, always outweighed the uncertainty and the being away from my beloved ones.
That. There's a few things I want to play back what you said right at the beginning there, and I think it's really important for all the listeners. So you talked about, so many expats. You're absolutely right. You often hear expats saying, I just didn't want to be there anymore. So they're kind of running away from something, coming away from something. And you said, actually, I wasn't running away from anything. I was running toward the things that I wanted. And I think that is a beautiful reframe for life, because I think we spend a lot of time pushing against, running away from, or not letting go of what we need to, rather than actually reframing and focusing our energy on where we want to go towards, what could be in front of us. It suddenly had flip into my head, actually, the analogy of, there's a reason that the rearview mirror in a car is an awful lot smaller than the front windscreen. It's important to look back, but that's not the direction we're going. And I love the way you describe that in terms of expat life for you. So thank you. And I just wanted to share that with everyone. Now, it's interesting you talked there about other people, and you're right, from an expat perspective, but I think this happens in life. We are constantly, if we make big decisions, make big shifts, make changes, do the things that we want to do, there can be a ripple effect, and it's not always positively received. Now, not just in terms of leaving Italy, but actually just in terms of your own experience, stroke thoughts on that. I'm guessing when you announced, I'm leaving Italy to go to Spain, there was a lot of support, but there was also perhaps a little bit of nervousness, worry, fear, not negative, but don't go, don't go. and you've experienced that several times. How do you navigate that? How do you, and like in life generally, there's always, everybody else has got a view, right? How do you navigate that to keep focused on where you're going?
I'd say that of course I've been very lucky with the people that I've had around. I was born and I grew up in a family which has always been very supportive toward everything that I've always wanted to do. And I think I've also, I've won my way when it came to having full trust in both directions. So I know that my parents and my family really respected me as a person. They respected my way of seeing life. They respected the way that I was trying to make a living out of my passion. And they also respected me as a separate adult from them, many times parents, they tend to project on their children whatever they have inside, their fear, their uncertainties, everything. And I feel that I'm sure that my parents had a lot of fear and uncertainty at that moment, but they were discreet enough of not showing them too much. So I've never felt, they've never made me feel guilty. They've never made me feel like I was failing them or abandoning them or anything like that. So the transition, to be honest, I don't recall exactly how it went, the conversation with my parents when I told them I want to move to Spain. But what I know is that it's never been a traumatic experience, at least from my side. So I think that when at some point you want to explain to people, you have this tendency, this natural impulse to explain to people why you want to leave, which is normal, which is, I mean, it's very human. You want to make a choice and you want to explain why you're making that choice, as if you're justifying why you want to do something. And at the same time, you don't have to. Like, if that's what you feel, if that's what you want to do, you shouldn't have to do a full explanation with bullet points in a presentation on PowerPoint to say, this is my dream, I want to go. So I think it depends on everyone. If you feel the need of explain, if you feel like you want to share your reasons, and it can also be a source of inspiration for someone else. At the same time, don't feel the obligation and don't feel forced to do something, because I don't think that, I don't think that anyone has really put any resistance to it. But of course, I recognize multiple times, even now when I talk to people back home, I recognize often subtle patterns of sentences, of questions. They're not meant to be rude or hurting, but sometimes they are just like not what an expert would like to listen every single time.
And I think any expat listening, or anyone that's made a big decision, actually, or a big change, will resonate with what you just said. And I think, I think what's at the heart of it, you've got a wonderful relationship with your parents, and they're very, very supportive. And I know you've got a tight knit family, and not everybody is as fortunate as that. And so, and it might not even be family. Sometimes it can be friends. I think actually some of my friends their response was slightly, not worse is the wrong word. I don't know what the right word is now. And if any of my friends are listening, they're like, come on then, Shelley, what's the word? But actually, I think some of my friends probably reacted more than some of my family, because the impact's different. And I guess it's interesting when you say, I actually do know someone. I don't think they were leaving a country, but I do know someone that did like a presentation for their family once, because it was their best way for them to manage their emotion in delivery. And I think that's very self-aware. But I think at the heart of it, we all just want people to be pleased for us, right? We all want people to support us. And yet, what we don't always realise, and you and I know because this is the work we do, most people's response is projection. If people respond in a way that you don't want them to, it's very rarely about you. They're projecting what's going on for them in that moment. But that's rational. We can know that logically. That doesn't change the dynamics of dealing with that at the time. And I think, this isn't just about expat life. This is about delivering any information. It's, it can be boundaries that we need to put in place. It could be deciding. I can remember, in fact, I remember telling my dad Or actually, I remember building up in my mind, telling my dad that I was resigning to start a business. That was before we got to leaving the country. I was terrified of telling my dad, and yet his response was brilliant. That's what I built it up to be. And I guess that, that's where all of that plays out. So now, madam, I need to, if it's okay. I promise I'm not about to go into a coaching session, but you said something earlier on, which I really want to play
Mm-hmm.
into because it's one of your super strengths. And when you said it, I found myself thinking about something a boss said to me years and years ago. And it was, and I say this to clients all the time, like sometimes our greatest strength overplayed can become our biggest opportunity. Now, one of your super strengths, and you've described it brilliantly in your story, is actually change keeps me alive. Those were the words you said. So you embrace change, you challenge yourself in change. You absolutely, you're curious. You used that word earlier. And then you said, my biggest fear is boredom, stagnation. So I wondered how that plays out all the time, because it's great to be curious, it's great to love change, but of course, any strength overplayed can become an opportunity. I guess, how do you find your sweet spot in that? Because a lot of people might be listening and going, I love change too, but actually, I constantly change and nothing sticks. Now, I know that's not necessarily the case with you, so I'd love you to just share with us, how do you find the sweet spot between change and boredom so it's not constant change and nothing sticks? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely. And you know what? It was interesting because while you were replaying the things that I said, I was reflecting, right? And I think that I've never noticed this about myself, about being so changing, of getting, I need constant stimulation when it comes to new things I want to try. I want to I want to keep growing. I want to keep moving. And I think that I've never realized that up until I got together with my partner. My partner is multi-passionate. He has a lot of talents, and he's, if possible, worse than me when it comes to these change. So he's like every day has a new project. And while I was observing him, I was thinking, "Oh my God, I'm kind of the same." And that helped me. These observing myself from outside really helped me to understand, okay, what do I want for real? And sometimes the change is necessary. Sometimes the change is just out of boredom, in the sense that I don't want to sit with what I have. So when I find maybe some obstacles, or when I find something which is a bit of a resistance, if I'm not strong enough on the why I want that change, I can jump to something else. So for me, going back to my why, going back to, what do I want to get out of this change? Am I changing for the sake of it? Or am I changing because these represents an opportunity, these represent this and that? And sometimes I must admit that it was out of, just for the sake of changing, for saying, I'm going to do something else today. Which is fine as long as it doesn't interfere with your bigger picture. So for me, the
Right.
balance is to always look at the bigger picture and make sure that everything falls into place to what you want to be and who you want to be.
I love that. I mean, you are brilliantly self-aware, and I kind of, I knew that when I asked that question. And I guess actually, I love how you've just described all of that, because actually, as you were talking, so I mean, you can tell we've got two coaches here, right? Because you said, as you were playing that back to me, I was reflecting, and it got me thinking. So as you were talking, I was like, and I found myself writing down, maybe that's okay, because of course we have certain messages rammed down our throats, right? And as business owners, the word I wrote down earlier was consistency. Like, we're told you've got to be consistent, you've got to be consistent. Well, that doesn't mean you can't be curious and enjoy change. And so there I am asking you about the sweet spot. And then as you're talking, I'm like, well, maybe it's okay to change. I think, as you've just said, it is absolutely okay to love change, to be curious, to want to grow, to try new things. In fact, and I know I've said this to you before outside of this arena, like I love that about you, and I kind of envy it a bit, because I don't have that in me. I don't do enough of the try new things. You'll try anything, right? That I love that about you, Jess. And I don't do that. That's my stuff. That's a whole other conversation. But what you just described there is that self-awareness of, look, I have to check in with myself that I am exploring change for curiosity, not for avoidance. That's essentially what you just said, right? And that's self awareness. And I guess like anyone listening, I want to be really clear. Yeah, we're just giving complete permission for, go with change, be curious, but actually be self-aware and know when it's taking you away from what you say you want. Which is a perfect segue because this is what you help people with, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about kind of here we are, current world. You've now been in Dubai for 3 years. I would love you to tell us a little bit about like what you're really passionate in your world about. And of course, you just alluded to that whole why. Tell us a bit about what is the why? What does the future hold for Jess? She decides at the moment.
So my future, who knows my future? Where will I be? I always say that I don't have a final destination. I don't think there's on the planet any place that I can define as a final destination. So that's my curiosity playing out. But everything has something, like the backbone of everything I do is always trying to bring more awareness to people when it comes to what they want. So I know on my own flesh and blood what it means to be in a place that doesn't fulfill you in the same way that you expect it to be. And again, hospitality really has my heart. It's a huge passion of mine. It's just not, at least in those conditions, is not completely aligned with the kind of lifestyle that I want to have, these moving around, this freedom, etc. So what I want is for people to realize, first of all, what's this idea of success that they have. Okay, I had an event yesterday and I was giving this example, like you're like a lamp, a standing lamp, and at some point society, family, cultural impositions, friends have started to put labels on it and some layers, things that we should think, things that we should want, and maybe we couldn't care less. So what I do with my clients is to start peeling off those layers, peeling off those labels that you have on top of these light bulb, and just let the light shine. So what you want is to really understand what's what's beneath all those layers of stuff that don't belong to you, and to really see, okay, this is my light. What do I do with my light? Where do I want to address this light to? So that's my passion, that's my mission, that's my why. I think that people deserve to feel excited about their life. They deserve to feel excited about their future and their present, and to also have someone that along the way help them to get from where they are to where they want to be. So I know that sometimes this change is not easy because, of course, peeling off those layers can be sometimes painful. You're stripping away a whole identity and you're just staying naked in front of something. So it can be very challenging. It can be very challenging. So I think that having someone next to you that understands what does it mean to walk that path, at least from an emotional perspective, it can be really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, clearly I agree. In the same line of work, do very different stuff. And actually, as you were talking there, my coach talks a lot about sometimes you have to shed, you have to shed the layers in order to move forward and pick up the next thing that's meant for you. And that was what was going through my mind when you were talking. I love the analogy of the lamp and the labels, and I love like that the use of the light. And you're so right. We go through life and we pick up these labels, and like you saying, I got to that state, I got offered what I thought was the ultimate role I wanted, and realized actually I haven't got the feeling I thought I'd have. And so many people, that happens to so many people, and not because people force us down a path. I think we pick the stuff up along the way and we take ourselves down a path. I think it takes real courage to realize actually these I don't want all these labels, I don't want all these layers, I want to course correct, I want to get naked and start again. I there were two things I wrote down when you were talking, and I think one of the things, I don't know if it's a question or not. You said, I don't have a final destination, and I think it's more of a statement that I think I love about for you that statement is, for you, final destination isn't a place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm really conscious that most of my listeners know, my husband and I have a really clear goal to get to our house in Italy, and we know what kind of life we want to live, we know how we want to feel, but I think there is a place there involved. We don't know the route to get there, we keep thinking we do, and then there's a little detour comes along. But for you, Final Destination is not a place. It's very much about a feeling. It's about, it's about living, which leads me to the question that I do have. So you talk a lot about success. We talk a lot about success and how it's so important that people can be clear what success means to them. What is success to you?
This question. Um, for me, success, like ultimate success, is freedom of being who I want to be, of loving who I want to love. Freedom also to change my mind, which is something that I've struggled for a long time, because I've always thought what people will think if I change my mind after 9 years of working like crazy for a certain type of career, and now I'm giving it all up just when I'm at the finish line. Also freedom of using my time and directing my time for things that I care about. I think that nowadays we have so many commitments with things that we socially need to have. I don't know if that's a sentence in English, but anyway, that we compromise on so much when it comes to our time. And I want to have the freedom. And that comes from also to, have in place certain types of boundaries and being able to say no or to pick the right things for yourself. I want to be able and to come to a point where my time is spent in the best way possible. It's to bring the highest value to me and to the people around me.
Right. I mean, firstly, I love your description of success for you. I think there are two really important things there that will really resonate for listeners, or they'll find themselves saying, that's what I want. How do I get there? Now, it's a really big question. I'm not asking you to give us the golden nugget of how do we get there, but I'm going to just share the two things that really stood out. When you said freedom to change my mind, I think a lot of people will really resonate with that, because I think, like you said, worry about what other people will think. And it's almost like we worry, if we were to change our mind, will people think I'm failing at what I'm doing, particularly in founder world. So, I'm seeing this a lot at the moment. The world's changed, the industries are changing, things are shifting, and we have to shift and evolve with that. But I feel like there's this underlying current of, if I change, if I do something different, does that mean I've failed? So that's the first one that I think people will really resonate with. Tell me whatever goes through your mind. But I just want to share this. The second one was the one you just said there about time to do what I really care about. And I just think so many people will be going, I want time to do what I care about too, but there just isn't enough time. So I know they're two quite different things, and I'd love you to share whatever's going through your mind as I raise those two and think. I just think there's going to be so many people that resonate with both of them. Some of them will resonate literally with both of those things, founders. But yeah, that was a bit of an open.
That was very open, yes. I think that, yeah, the change itself, it's already quite traumatic for people, because we're not very used to change, or at least people tend to see change as something unsettling. Well, as I said before, for me, change is like, yes, let's get it done.
Yeah. Most people look at the uncertainty of
Yeah.
change, whereas you're looking at the opportunity of
Yes.
change. Yes.
So that's
Yes.
for me the first step, like for people to understand that a change doesn't have to be positive or negative. It's about your ability to adapt to it, to make the most out of it. And then sometimes change is not for better or for worse. It's just a change. It's just something different. So we always tend to compare, it used to be better, or I'm sure it will be better. What if it's just different? It
Oh my
takes,
God. Hang on a sec. Right. Let's just have a moment on that. I feel like I'm having, right. When, like, do you ever listen to Mel Robbins, where she has those moments where she's like, hang on a second. Hang on. That's what I feel like. I'm like, hang on, we can't just move on from that. It's just different. Like that, like everybody, like, it's just different. Mic drop, Jess. That was a mic drop moment. Sorry.
yeah, I can't drop this one. It's going to be very loud. But yeah,
Me neither, but that was absolutely incredible. And I think it's a really important
and
thing.
also
So,
think that change many times, and it's the same for choices, when people need to make choices, they always have this fear of making the wrong choice. What if I move and I don't settle? What if I change my job and I regret it? What if? And I'm a big what ifer. I need to say this.
what if?
I'm a big what if. But I also learned how to remove myself from the right or wrong. In like, I removed right or wrong in the answer. There's no right or wrong. There's just what I feel right now. It's always going to be right. Whatever I feel, it's always going to be right. Because at the end of the day, I'm making a choice based on what I have, the information that I have right now, and what I'm feeling. And many times I've questioned myself in the past and I said, did I do the right choice? Yes, of course I did. Because now I don't have the same information that I had back then. I have much more experience. I have a different state of mind, a different emotional state. So, of course, you did the right choice. So, removing that responsibility of making the right choice really helps me to be more courageous and take action.
I totally agree. And you just said, there is no right or wrong. And I say to clients all the time, there's no right, there's no wrong. There is only what is right for you right now. That's it. Like, what feels right for you right now. That's the only answer you need to. That's the only question you need to answer. So yeah, absolutely love that. The other one, the bit I did ask you about actually was time to do what I care for. What I care about. Time, the elusive, cannot manage it, never enough of it, always want more, want to do more things. And you do seem to do a lot.
I do a lot.
How do you manage to have more time than anybody else, Jess?
Okay, first of all, I think there's a myth when people say that we all have the same 24 hours. I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true, and I struggle with explaining to people this concept because it's not true that we have all the same 24 hours. Like, I'm not a mom, so of course I don't have the same amount of hours of a mother because that mother needs to split the time in a different way. I'm not saying that one has more or less. I'm just saying that we have different 24 hours, okay?
All of our 24 hours are different,
Yeah.
right? Absolutely.
And I also think that I've always been very active. My father always jokes and said that I multiply time because he says, I can't imagine how you can fit so many things into a day. And I'm telling you, I don't feel overwhelmed on a daily basis. Of course, I have moments of
That's called being human.
exactly. But I don't live my life like if I am just pressing the accelerator, and I just enjoy it. And that for me, my time has value. I want to make time that I have available as much value as possible. And I think that I'm doing much more now in terms of doing things that I like, that I care about. I'm doing much more of it now that I'm enjoying some time off than I used to do. And I'll explain this a bit because it looks weird what I've just said. So I've always packed my days to be productive because I've always had goals. I've always worked on a thing while I was doing something else. So back in school, I was doing a ballet academy, then I was going to Caribbean dance classes, and I was going to singing classes. I'm not going to sing right now, Shelley. And then I went to university, and while I was in university, I was teaching ballet, and then I was also working part-time, and I was also doing something else. So there's always been a lot of, let's say, side hustle within me, and I felt that if I was to stand still, I would just die. That was the feeling that I was living in constantly, like go, 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 go. There's something else to do. There's more to learn. There's more to explore. And now I feel that I'm doing so much more, but at a completely different space. Sorry, pace. It's completely different. I feel so relaxed, and especially during the past 6 months, I've just completely shifted the energy. And it's paying off, I need to say, because I don't feel in a space where I'm running constantly. I just feel that I'm walking and enjoying what I'm doing. And I haven't changed the quantity of things that I'm doing, but I'm actually changing the quality of what I'm doing. I don't know if it makes sense.
It makes total sense. It really does. And I love that. And I've definitely seen that in you. And I know, that's been a really important shift you've made. And I wonder how much of that, like that, that kind of busy productive, I think so much of that comes from those corporate backgrounds. Hospitality is a bugger for that, if I'm honest, because it is go, 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 go all the time. There's so much more I could delve into with you, and I'm very conscious that we could go in so many directions still. And you and I we already know this because we've done it on social occasions.
Yes.
Just while away the hours, quite frankly. What I am going to say to you is, given the layers, I talked about your layers earlier. You talked about the layers you help your clients peel back. If you think back now to the journey of the last 10, 12, 13 years since you left Italy and went to Spain, and if you could go back to Jess, who was just about to step on that plane and head to Spain, what would you say to her?
Bring an extra bring an extra suitcase. I would definitely say that you'll find the answers along the way, because I think that this is something that we all struggle with at a certain level. And I've seen this in me multiple times. Like I always want to do something, and then I'm questioning, do I have the tools? Do I have the knowledge? Do I have the time? Just do it. And you'll find out if you have knowledge, tools, and time while you go. So of course, planning is good, and I'm a big planner, but I also feel that you figure it out along the way. And I feel that many times we don't step into that courageous mindset because we're busy to put a lot of what if, a lot of questions that we'll never be able to answer to at that point because we don't have that experience. So I think that, I would just tell myself, you figure it out. Go.
Figure out something else. Thanks for the little nod to the courageous mindset there. Love that. Thank you.
You're welcome, my friend.
What's next on the horizon for Jess?
So of course, now with the coaching, the focus is on helping more and more people. I think that when you have something so powerful within your hands, you just want to spread it and to reach and support as many people that you want. So of course, this is one of the things that's definitely on the agenda. So to grow the number of people that I work with, to keep growing as a person. And then, of course, to pick the next destination.
I'm waiting with bated breath for that, but not yet. I'm not ready for you to leave.
No,
Dubai.
not yet.
Okay, so you take it for now.
Not
please.
yet.
We will put all links in the show notes for anybody that wants to come and find you, wants to kind of find out more about what you do and just hear more of your story. But I always ask, where is the best place to find you? Because we'll put all your links in, but where's your favorite place to hang out? What's the best way for people to come and connect with you?
Currently, it's Instagram. Yes. You know that.
Currently.
Currently.
That could change because I like change.
Currently is Instagram. Yes. I feel that, I have moments of more connection with a social media than another one. Now it's Instagram era. So that's where I'm most active, and I like to engage with people and to keep connected.
Love it. All right. So you're hearing that first. That's in October 2025. Instagram is the place. If you're listening to this later on, you can't find her on Instagram, Jess has changed her mind. She's decided to play somewhere else. But we will put all the links into the show notes for people to come and join you. Jess, I just want to say thank you for coming and sharing your story, your wisdom, your experience. I love the way you describe things. I love the way you share so openly your own self-development journey. And I really think so much of that will resonate. And you've given some absolute golden nuggets to people today. So I just want to say thank you for being on the She Is Courageous podcast. You are, I believe, actually an absolute perfect example of the courageous mindset, because I don't think I would have had the courage that you had at 24 to leave my home country and do what you do. And look at, as you continue through, I have no doubt there will be another destination on the map, just not yet.
I promise I'll let you know.
Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for listening. I hope it's been a great episode for you and you've taken some absolute golden nuggets there. I've got scribbles here. I guess what's the one I want to go back to that. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. I just think that's the one for all of us to take out of today's episode. I really do. There's so many, but that really ring true. As always, if you have enjoyed the episode, please give us a like, a follow, share us over on the socials, and tag myself and Jess. And I'll wrap it up as I always do with reminding every single one of you, she is courageous and she is you. Thanks a lot. That's a